So it's Friday, so it's time for Poets. Some of us know that as Push Off Early, tomorrow's Saturday. But in this context, it's the Perioperative Enhancement Team. Inspired by Dr. Sol Aronson and the team at Duke, a selection of clips to get us thinking about the next steps in providing world-class perioperative care. You'll find the full lectures in our back catalogue, or join us at the upcoming Perioperative Practicum for expert discussions, business case tips, and hands-on workshops. Go to www.edpom.org and look for our international programme of perioperative practicums. Top Bed Talk.
We now have the opportunity to sit down with a very special guest, Dr. Amir Jaffer. Hello.
Thank you, Desiree,
Hello.
and thank you, Monty, for having me here this afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dr. Jaffer is the Chief Medical Officer for the New York Presbyterian in Queens, and you also happen to be the founding director of the Perioperative Medicine Summit. So it all started with you, right?
Yeah, it sure did.
And I think I heard you right. You, in your institution, now have a Chief Respect Officer.
Oh my gosh, I wrote that down too.
What's one of them?
Yeah. So,
where do you get them?
When I started at our organization about 2 years ago, I came into, I don't know if you know much about New York Presbyterian, but New York Presbyterian came together about 15 years ago. New York Hospital and Presbyterian Hospital got together. We have 2 Ivy League medical schools, Cornell, Columbia. And so the organization, New York Presbyterian, was made up of 2 different cultures. And then over the last few years, they've acquired more hospitals, including the hospital that I'm at, which is now called New York Presbyterian Queens, but used to be called Booth Memorial and then New York Hospital Queens, and this is the new name. So when I landed here, I started to learn more about all the transformation that was happening. Mm-hmm. And the really senior leadership, our CEO, Steve Corvin, our Chief Operating Officer, Laura Faris, felt that we had a problem. We had a problem with respect in the organization. And so they really worked with the frontline employees to put together this respect credo. It was on one of my slides today.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is that every role, every voice counts, right? That's the fundamental premise of the respect credo. But it's an amazing document if you get a chance to spend more time to read it. That was the beginning of really our journey in the whole transformation in the culture, but starting with respect, because the leaders felt that if we don't have respect, we really can't do anything. You can't have teamwork if you don't have respect, and you really can't do the things that you really need to do in healthcare, because healthcare is really a team sport.
Yeah.
And so we started there, and then we basically took it to the front lines, and we talked every single day about respect. We took examples of respect that employees would come up and talk about, or disrespect, that they'd been disrespected. By talking about it every single day, then we had a major employee retreat at New York Presbyterian Queens a year later, which was also focused on respect. And now the enterprise, which is 40,000 employees, decided very recently over the last couple of months that they would have a chief respect officer. If you don't have respect, you basically can't do anything, right?
Yeah.
So, what is the Chief Respect Officer? What powers do they? How do they... Let's imagine someone's acting up and just won't show respect.
Yeah.
It's deep in their DNA to be a pain in the whatever it is.
So I'll just tell you that even before we appointed a Chief Respect Officer at our organization, we were well underway on this journey. And so when reports of disrespect got up to our leaders, they had the ability to actually remove and fire individuals.
You said that during your presentation.
Yep.
I was amazed.
Yep.
Wow.
And
it works. I mean, it
works. It works.
Yeah. That's so interesting.
Can I have another one?
Yeah, of course.
You went values, credo, and then huddles.
Yeah.
Tell us about your huddles. They're not cuddles, but they're huddles.
Absolutely. So over the last year, we've been on a lean journey, but nobody knows that we practice lean. So what I mean by that is our leadership decided that a lot of people get intimidated by a lot of these Japanese words around gemba and so forth, right? And they decided, well, what do we really want? We want leaders to be visible, transparent, out there with their employees, observing how things are going, giving them feedback, giving them coaching. But at the same time, we needed a structured approach to get information up to the leadership so we can break down silos, we can make sure resources are available, figure out where the challenges are, so we can get involved as leaders. But you need to build that relationship with your employees to share information, because oftentimes employees feel intimidated to share information with their supervisors. So we, again, approximately a year ago, we started this journey of putting into place 3 tiers of huddles. The first tier is the Tier 1 huddle, which happens at the unit level. And at the unit level, you have clinicians, nurses, doctors coming together at the unit level. And they have a huddle board. They have a structured approach. They just spend 10 or 15 minutes sort of huddling together and reviewing all sorts of information, perhaps information from overnight. But they have 2 huddles a day now on every unit. And then from there, that information is fed up to the directors, which we call their Tier 2 huddles. And then the directors bring that information to a leadership huddle that occurs at 10 a.m. every day. We basically have a board, and we basically have very structured information that we go through. It's about 50 plus elements that we gather information on. But for each element, it takes no more than a couple seconds. And you could be red, green, or if you have issues with staffing or with flow, or, for example, the elevators broke down last night, or there was a water leak. A lot of that information gets circled up here at the huddle, and then people who are accountable for each of those areas have to then give an update or status in terms of where they are with addressing that. And then the following day they have to say whether it was resolved or not. Some problems, get resolved within hours, and some within minutes. Some take a longer time. But regardless, we keep it there, and we talk about it in a couple of days if it's still not resolved.
How long do you allocate for it?
It's usually 15, 20 minutes.
Do you do it standing?
Yeah, well, half the people are standing. People who come earlier grab seats. But it's usually no more than 15 or 20 minutes. The other part, Monty, is that we always end with recognitions. And we always start with overnight safety events and good catches. So, talking about the transformation that's needed to get to zero harm, we want to recognize people who actually identify problems before they affect patients, right? Before the problem, in fact, hurts a patient. If people identify a problem, that's considered a good catch. And we actually give them a pin to recognize them.
So you actually award people for doing the right thing when normally you would probably feel intimidated in most organizations.
Right. And then at the end, we always identify situations where people have gone above and beyond, and we recognize them openly. So it's really started to this culture where things are transparent, where people feel like things are fair.
Safe zone, too.
Exactly. They feel comfortable speaking up, being and just the positive reinforcement has also helped create a really nice culture.
I'm guessing that 15 to 20 minutes standing cuts out about 5,000 emails.
Yes, I have to tell you that definitely we don't get a lot of emails around these issues because they get solved in real time.
Wait for 10 o'clock. and just get
it all out.
Get it done.
I definitely feel it's great. It's really, really helped the communication.
One more question on the huddling. Do the huddles that take place on the rock face on the floor, do you do them in public? Or do you go to a private room? And the reason I ask
the ones on the floor? Yeah. Well, no, it happens right in the unit.
Yeah, so patients, perfect.
So usually, you have patients who may be walking by. If the patient actually happens to be walking in the corridor and there's a huddle going on, if they want to observe, they're welcome to observe. We usually don't take patients' names and stuff. So if we need to, we ensure nobody's around.
I think that's a very positive step as well.
Transparent, yeah. I love this theme, though, that for everything that you've been talking about is getting employees, your team involved from the bottom up, top down. Because so many of these initiatives, they come from the top, but they don't do anything with the people that are actually the ones that are having to communicate and having to do the change themselves. And so, I think that's such an important part of transformational change and change management.
Absolutely.
That gets forgotten.
Absolutely. Like you said, you got to make sure that the front lines are involved in the change. You hear from them. And, what's really, really striking, exciting about the huddle is that anybody who's there can speak up afterwards to recognize their peers. And then we go down every item. So whoever is the lead for that area, will speak up and tell us if there's any issues. And they usually say red or green as a way to signal if things are good.
Top Med Talk.
Nick Majerison here. Thanks for listening to Top Med Talk. Now all you need to do is find us on social media. We can be friends on Facebook. We can follow each other on Twitter. We can hang out on Instagram. Or we can even gawp at each other on YouTube. Get onto your social media platform, whichever your favourite is, and you're likely to find Top Med Talk there. Whilst you're at it, make sure you've subscribed to this podcast so you never ever miss an episode. Helps us enormously if you do that, by the way. And check out the website, topmedtalk.com. On there you can find the email updates where we update you as to what we're doing each week. And whilst you're online, whilst you're doing your thing on the internet, I highly recommend you download all of the podcasts that we've put out here on Top Med Talk. We do an enormous amount of material here. A lot of it is incredibly valuable and, of course, will be in the future. So I just recommend you download the entire back catalogue if you could. Helps us out if you do that as well. And check out edpom.org/meetings. While you're there, get excited about EdPom London 2019, the London Perioperative Medicine Congress. It's on July the 2nd, and it's one of many meetings that EdPom organises around the world in order to communicate the perioperative medicine message. Have a look, edpom.org/meetings.